Here is the being before God, just created, he has not yet spoken. He must now say his first word, which God asks of him in response to his act of creation. The decisive word. God speaks to him first. Look, O creature, at what lies before you. I am the Father who created you. I wish to make you of my own substance, and I am a center, free as I am. I made you great with my greatness, powerful with my power, wise with my wisdom. I did so spontaneously by an act of love towards you, my creature. To this my act, only one final touch is lacking to be perfect, and it must come from you. I expect it from you that you will do it with full freedom. I offer you existence as a great pact of friendship. It is based on the love with which I created you and to which you owe your being. You can accept or not this, my love. Every pact is bilateral. Every acceptance of love must be spontaneous. An imposed correspondence of love is absurd. Choose. See what I have already done for you. I have preceded you with the example. You see me, look and decide. Any pressure of mine would make you a slave creature, and I wanted you free, because you must resemble me. In order for me to love you as I want, you had to be similar to me. Love cannot be asked of a slave, but only imposed obedience, which is outside my system and would be its inversion. Come then, to me, correspond to my love that calls you and attracts you. Confirm my work with your acceptance. By your free choice, consent, enter and coordinate yourself in my system, of which I am the center. Subordinate your lesser I am to the I am, the one God, supreme vertex that governs the all. Recognize the order of which I am the chief. Promise obedience to the law that expresses my thought and will. Out of love, I ask you, for you are my son, to return to me the love with which I begot you. After these words, for an instant, the universe's breath was suspended, while the phalanxes of created spirits oscillated in cosmic undulations. The being looks and thinks. He feels the power that comes from the Father, an immensity that makes him akin to God. He is free, as an autonomous I am, lord of his system, of his forces and inner balances. His own structure, permeated with divine grandeur, impels him to repeat in an autonomous, separatist sense the egocentrism that he contained from the ultimate I am, God. But on the other side, there is an opposing force, anti-egocentric, tending to neutralize the first. Love. It manifests as a silent attraction, which imposes itself through kindness. Whoever has understood this call has truly understood God. The two forces, thus diverse, move the phalanxes of spirits who examine and weigh them. Love is beautiful, but it entails a renunciation full of duties, a renunciation of the total fullness of the I am. It implies obedience, the acknowledgement of a subordinate position. Here lies the tempting danger. To exaggerate, in one's judgment, one's own likeness to God, and to admit a pretense of identity. Instead of following the path of love, coordinating oneself with obedience and order, one follows the opposite route, having to coordinate one's own I am to reinforce its autonomy, making oneself an isolated center of the system with its own law, to imitate God only to surpass him, to answer the sweet call of love with a challenge. No, God, I, creature, am greater than you. I am God, not you. Then many lesser gods, made of divine substance, freely decided to become greater gods, equal to God. The choice was made by them, and the universe, shaken to its foundations that lie in the spirit, trembled, and part of it collapsed, involving itself in matter. But it was not so for all beings. The balance on which the two impulses were placed, for another multitude of spirits, leaned instead towards the side of love, opposite to that of rebellion through pride. They recognized the superiority of God and merged into his order, becoming his collaborators, freely accepting and understanding it. The first ones did not want to recognize his supremacy. They detached themselves from his order and became demolishers. They did not want to accept it and correspond. Their leader was Lucifer. Thus, they plunged out of the system into an inverted position that will be the characteristic of their entire existence. It is certain that the fall was due to a lack of knowledge of the consequences of the revolt, but it is also certain that the creature could not be omniscient equal to God. One might object then that if they were ignorant, how can the guilt of having fallen be imputed to them? God should have endowed them with sufficient knowledge to understand in advance the consequences of disobedience, so as not to incur it. To such objection, it can be countered that the creature would thus have followed God solely in their selfish interest, in order to escape harm, and not out of love. Now, an act of acceptance so fundamental in the system could not be based on an interest born of selfishness, that is, on a principle antithetical to the one that governs the entire system, such as love. It should result from a spontaneous adherence out of love, upon understanding the goodness of the Creator. How fundamental the principle of love is in the system is proven by the fact that God himself, in his immanent aspect, followed the collapsed system to rebuild it, never abandoning the creature however unjust and rebellious they might be. And God asked them for nothing but a proof of love. The obedient spirits gave it, even though in knowledge they were equal to the fallen spirits. Thus began, in the fallen being, two opposite paths that distinguish them. On one side, pride, evil, pain, darkness, chaos, and consequently creation and life in matter. On the other, obedience, good, light, order, and the perfect life of the pure spirit. The fall is the involution from which one rises redeemed by the effort of evolution, absorbing evil in pain, building oneself through suffering with the experience of life, thus dematerializing and spiritualizing in the ascension to meet God, who did not abandon the being that fell, but merely said to them, "You have destroyed the splendid edifice, however, you continue to be my son. You will rebuild everything, though, with your effort."